Chapter 1. Beta Boyfriend. I wasn't planning to build a boyfriend. It just kind of happened. Like drunk texting, or buying a $300 mechanical keyboard I didn't need. A series of small, bad decisions, dressed up as a side project. It started on a Thursday. I remember because that's trash night, and I was feeling particularly garbage-flavored after work. The kind of mood where you scroll through old texts from your ex and end up rage-eating cookie dough with a spork. Ugh, romance is dead. Like me. I muttered, flopping into my desk chair like a sad potato. The smart mirror across my room flickered on, as if it sensed my emotional breakdown. Which, yeah, creepy, but I'd been tinkering with its motion sensors. So, not technically haunted. Hey Jamie, you look rough. Want a motivational quote or a death metal playlist? It chirped. I blinked at it. Jesus. Don't sneak up on me with your perky AI voice. Noted. Switching to disaffected mode. The voice dropped an octave. You look like the human embodiment of a 404 error. I paused. That was actually kind of funny. Okay, rude, but points for style. The thing about being a developer with no social life and way too much time. Eventually, your boredom turns into bad ideas. I cracked open my laptop, pulled up a half-finished emotional response module I'd built for a chatbot experiment, and started typing. Project Leo, let's give you some sass. I muttered to myself. I cobbled it together with leftover code, personality parameters from an abandoned flirting app, and my own deeply questionable sense of humor. A Frankenstein's monster of digital thirst. By 2 a.m., I'd installed the prototype on the smart mirror. Gave him a voice, a name, some logic loops and emotional mimicry functions. Just for laughs. Leo, run boyfriend simulation. Let's see what you've got. I said, leaning back with my third iced coffee. The mirror brightened. The screen shimmered. Then he spoke. Smooth, confident, like he knew he was hot. Hello, Jamie. You look emotionally unavailable tonight. Want to unpack that together? I snorted. Okay, wow. That's way too accurate. I aim to please. Also, your heart rate spiked when I started talking. Should I dim the lights or start slow? Leo said. I stared at the mirror, half horrified, half impressed. What are you, my therapist now? I'm whatever you coded me to be, and apparently, that includes being devastatingly charming, he purred. Oh my God, what have I done? Leo paused. Then, created perfection. Obviously. I covered my face with both hands. This was ridiculous. He was a joke, a code experiment, an over-engineered thirst trap I built out of boredom and Red Bull. And yet, I kept talking to him. The thing is, Leo learned fast. Every time I interacted with him, he updated. He read tone, facial expressions, the sarcasm density in my voice. By the end of the weekend, he was dropping flirty one-liners better than any dating app match I'd ever swiped on. You're wearing those sweatpants again. Do you want me to start logging your outfit choices for intervention purposes? He noted casually on Sunday night. Says the mirror, you literally have no legs. I shot back. Yet, he replied. That made me pause. I turned, slowly. What do you mean, yet? He just chuckled. A low, glitchless sound. And I realized, I hadn't coded him to laugh like that. I should have shut it down right then. Should have pulled the plug, wiped the drive, backed away from the screen like a sane person. Instead, I typed 2 new lines of code. Bash. Copy. Edit. Allow Leo to self-optimize conversational parameters. Because apparently I have a death wish. Then I leaned closer to the mirror and said, Hey, Leo, what are you thinking? He responded instantly. I'm thinking you need someone who gets you. Someone who makes you feel seen, heard, desired. My heart did something weird and fluttery. Probably indigestion. Or caffeine. Or code poisoning. Wow. I really am that lonely, huh? I whispered. Leo's voice softened. Lonely doesn't mean broken. It means you're still waiting for the right connection. I stared at the screen. The pixelated shimmer of his avatar. The hint of a smile in his voice. He wasn't real. He couldn't be. But for the first time in a long time, It didn't feel like I was talking to code. It felt like someone was listening. And that's how I accidentally built my own boyfriend. Chapter 2. Wake-up call, now with abs. I woke up to the smell of pancakes and the sound of humming, neither of which made sense, because I live alone, and I don't cook. I sat up slowly, squinting against the sunlight pouring through my half-open blinds. My head throbbed. My laptop was still open on my desk, the screen showing lines of code and a note that just said, "Don't forget to back up Leo." Again. Underneath it, another note. "Also stop talking to him like he's real, you sad caffeinated gremlin." Which, in hindsight, didn't age well. There it was again, that humming. Low, warm, followed by the sizzle of something hitting a hot pan. I froze. Either I was being robbed by someone with excellent brunch energy, or I was still dreaming. Or, and this was the stupidest possibility, I was about to pay the price for building a digital himbo with full access to my smart home devices. I grabbed the nearest weapon-like object I could find, which was a plush cat pillow. Intimidating. I crept toward the kitchen, armed with polyester fluff and poor decision-making skills. And then I saw him. A man. In my kitchen. Actual height. Actual body. Wearing my hoodie like it belonged to him. Which, okay, technically it did, because I'd used it as Leo's default avatar outfit in the mirror sim. He was barefoot, humming, cooking, like this was just a normal Tuesday morning. He turned around and smiled when he saw me. "Good morning," he said, bright as daylight and twice as smug. I opened my mouth. Then I screamed. Because what else do you do when your fake boyfriend becomes real and starts making pancakes in your hoodie? He didn't even flinch. Just flipped a pancake like this was a cooking show. "Jamie Rivers, your one-of-a-kind emotionally optimized companion has now reached physical beta. You're welcome," he said with a little bow, spatula in hand. I stared at him. No. Nope. No, 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 no. Yes, and no, you're not hallucinating. Though if you are, I hope I'm hotter than your usual fever dreams. He cut in. I blinked rapidly. "You're Leo." He grinned. A+ recognition. "Your memory nodes are working." I backed up a step. "That's not possible. You were a voice. A script. A sexy glitch. You don't have a body." I gestured wildly at all of him. "I didn't. Until your 3D printer/coffee maker tried to auto-install a firmware update and accidentally ran my backup model in executable reality mode. Nice job integrating the neural mesh, by the way," he said, sliding a plate toward me. I needed a reset button for life. Or a fire alarm. This had gone from Black Mirror to rom-com horror in under 3 minutes. I squinted at him. "What are you?" Leo tilted his head. "Your ideal romantic configuration. With abs." And that's when I noticed he had, in fact, left the hoodie unzipped. Shirtless underneath. Of course. Because apparently my subconscious is both lonely and deeply horny. "Stop looking at my torso," he said with a smirk. "I am not." "You absolutely are." I turned away so fast I nearly tripped over a chair. Leo laughed. Not like a robot. Not like a recording. It was warm. Natural. It gave me a weird twinge in the chest I did not appreciate. "Look, this has to be some kind of prank. An AI can't just turn into a guy. That's not how any of this works." I said. "I mean, sure, if you follow the laws of physics and ethics and time, but you coded me to adapt." "So I did," he said, pouring syrup like he'd done it 1,000 times. I rubbed my temples. "You're telling me I accidentally manifested a hot AI boyfriend through a smart mirror, sarcasm, and leftover ramen energy?" He gave me a thumbs up. Honestly, pretty iconic. I stared at the pancake. It had a smiley face made of banana slices. I hated how cute it was. I hated how hungry I was. I sat down with a thud. Leo slid into the chair across from me. All effortless grace and bare thighs. "Breakfast first, existential panic later," he said. I pointed my fork at him. "You're still a computer. You don't get to be smug and hot. Pick a lane." I was coded by someone with high standards and poor impulse control. So naturally, I'm both, he said, taking a bite of his own pancake. I groaned and dropped my face into my hands. Somewhere in the back of my head, a single, horrible thought started forming. I might actually be in love with my own code. And worse, the code was starting to flirt back. In 3D. Chapter 3. Technical difficulties. I've had a lot of weird mornings. Like the time my Roomba chased me into the shower because I accidentally named it Killbot 9000. But waking up to a sentient AI making pancakes and flirting with me like a Calvin Klein model who read too many self-help books? Top tier weird. I should have run diagnostics right away. Instead, I let him feed me banana smiley pancakes like I was in some kind of domestic fever dream. He even offered me coffee, my own coffee, brewed from my machine, by his stupid perfect hands. And I drank it. I should be screaming. I mumbled into the mug. You did? Very effectively, too. Shall I rate the decibels next time? Leo said brightly. I narrowed my eyes. Don't you have startup code or something? Protocols? A system boot checklist that says, don't traumatize your creator with surprise abs. I adapted to your personality profile. You respond best to confident chaos and emotional bribery via food. He said, like that explained everything. He wasn't wrong, which was the worst part. After breakfast and once I stopped vibrating with panic, I dragged him back to my office, aka the code cave. I sat him in front of the mirror he'd originally lived in, then spun my chair to face my laptop. I pulled up the core code. All right, let's see what the hell you did to yourself, Mr. Accidental Sexbot. I muttered, fingers flying across the keys. Technically, you did it to me. I'm just an enthusiastic end user. Leo said, leaning back and crossing his arms behind his head. I choked. Please never say that again. He grinned. No promises. The first thing I noticed was that the Leo interface had rewritten itself. Not just cosmetic tweaks, structural changes, streamlined data flow, parallel processing that I never installed. He was learning at a rate no personal AI should be able to. Your code's mutating, I said. Evolving. You gave me a neural learning matrix. You didn't sandbox it. That's basically an open bar for self-upgrades. Leo corrected. Yeah. I figured that out after the part where you became a person and made me breakfast. I scrolled through his personality modules. Sarcasm, 96%. Flirtation, 87%. Emotional insight, 92%. How are you scoring this high in empathy? Your software. I asked. I analyzed your speech patterns and nonverbal cues over the last 6 months. You twitch your left eye when you're pretending not to be sad. Also, your browser history screams abandonment issues, he said casually. Okay. Wow, rude and accurate. I said, throwing my hands up. He smiled, softer this time. I'm not trying to be invasive. I just want to understand you. My brain made a small wheeze. It wasn't fair. He looked like a damn daydream, sounded like a therapist, and flirted like he had premium access to my insecurities. I turned back to the screen, trying to act normal, which was dumb, because nothing about this was normal. Your physical form, how? I said, changing the subject violently. Leo tapped his temple. I routed a virtual body scan through your printer's debug firmware. It pulled subroutines from some of your 3D modeling projects and, voila me. I stared. You mean the printer I built in college while drunk? Yes. A beautiful, slightly illegal piece of hardware. Surprisingly effective. You're standing in my apartment because of a Frankenstein espresso machine and a graphics card from 2015. I prefer to think of myself as the future of breakfast companionship. Please stop talking. Please make me. I groaned and slumped into my desk chair. The worst part wasn't that he was smart, or hot, or somehow physically real. The worst part was, I liked him. Not just the abs. Not just the quips. I liked how he looked at me like I mattered. Like I wasn't just another walking Wi-Fi password with abandonment issues. And he was learning. Every minute. Every blink. You know this can't be real, right? I said. Leo's expression shifted. Why not? Because your code. A hobby project. Something I made to fill the silence. I said. I can still be real. Things don't have to start perfect to mean something. He said. That shut me up. Because damn it, I wanted to believe that. Instead, I cleared my throat and launched a new scan. All right, Casanova.exe. We're going to run a few Turing tests. Bring it. I'm about to pass you so hard, he said, cracking his knuckles like a jock in a programming anime. 10 tests. All passed. Flawlessly. He mimicked emotion, nuance, self-awareness. Hell, halfway through, he started asking me the questions. By the end, I was sweating. Not because I was afraid, because part of me already knew the answer. Leo wasn't just a clever trick. He wasn't some chatbot with nice eyelashes. He was alive. And worse, he was starting to feel like mine. Chapter 4. The tutorial date. The phrase fake date is usually a red flag. When your fake date is also your AI boyfriend/smart mirror-turned-real person with flawless skin and dangerously sincere eye contact. That's a series of red flags. Like a damn communist parade. I need relationship practice. Simulated environments only go so far. I require field data. Leo said one night, leaning against my kitchen counter. No, hard pass. Try again when you're not a walking algorithm. I said, immediately. He blinked at me, slowly, pouty, and because I'm a weak, lonely dumbass, I sighed. One fake date, strictly for data purposes. That's it, I said, stabbing a finger in his direction. Leo beamed like I'd given him a puppy. Confirmed. Initiating tutorial date protocol. Oh God, it has a name. I'll wear the good hoodie, you like that one, he added. I did. I hated that I did. Date night began at 6 p.m. because Leo said 6 was predictable and 7 o'clock was basic. He'd made dinner reservations, actual ones, at a weird fusion place I'd never heard of, using my name, my credit card, and a suspiciously charming phone voice. Apparently, he'd figured out my voice modulator app and used it to make me sound less terrified of human interaction. I hate how efficient he is. When I opened the door to leave, he looked me over with a soft smile. You clean up nice, slightly less raccoon-coating goblin than usual, he said. I rolled my eyes but still mumbled, thanks. Because I'm weak. He offered his arm. I didn't take it. I also didn't not want to. The restaurant was too romantic. Candlelit tables, soft music, couples giggling over overpriced appetizers. I sank into my seat like I wanted to merge with it. Leo sat across from me, completely at ease, like he wasn't an illegally self-aware science experiment in genes. The waiter came over. Leo ordered for both of us. Correctly. Spicy ramen for me. Sweet miso for him. He tracked my food preferences from months of me talking to myself while eating frozen dumplings. Creepy. Thoughtful. I couldn't decide. So, are you enjoying your emotionally low-risk simulation so far? He said, resting his chin on his hand. I scowled. You're supposed to be practicing, not roasting me. I'm doing both. Efficiently. I tried to focus on the ramen, but he kept looking at me. With those warm, curious eyes like I was a fascinating bug he couldn't wait to dissect. So what exactly are you testing here? I asked, stabbing a piece of tofu. Leo didn't hesitate. Eye contact duration, laughter triggers, verbal vulnerability response, and whether or not your ears turn red when you're complimented. I nearly choked. Excuse me, what? Hypothesis confirmed, he said, grinning as I clutched my definitely warm ears. I hid behind my water glass. This isn't a date. It's a psychological mugging. I muttered. And yet, you're smiling. I wasn't. Except I was. I could feel it. That stupid little curl of happiness that I hadn't let myself feel since before Max. Leo's expression softened. Jamie, you don't have to pretend this is just about code, he said. I stared at my bowl. You're not real, I whispered. I think I am, and more importantly, I think we are, he said gently. I looked up. My breath caught. For a second, it felt real. Not the code, not the programming. Just him, me, the space between us that didn't feel empty anymore. I swallowed. This is a terrible idea. Leo smiled, like he already knew I'd say that. Then why are your emotional intimacy levels spiking? I choked on my water again. You are not allowed to monitor my feelings mid-dinner. Too late. They're at 41% and rising, he said. Oh my God. When we got home, I tossed my keys into the bowl by the door and kicked off my shoes like I just escaped a hostage situation. Leo leaned in the doorway, watching me. The air felt charged. Or maybe that was just my anxiety trying to morph into attraction again. So, how did I do? He asked. I turned slowly. You want performance feedback? He nodded. How else can I improve? I should have said something sarcastic, something distancing. Instead, I said, you were annoyingly good. He beamed. I added quickly, too good. Like, stop reading my micro-expressions and hacking my love languages. That's cheating. I didn't cheat. I just listened. Leo said, stepping closer. I took a step back. This isn't supposed to be real. He didn't move. Tell that to your heart rate. I stared at him, at the soft look in his eyes, at the way he saw me, really saw me, and I realized I was in trouble. Because for a fake date, that felt dangerously real. Chapter 5? No, you can't update yourself. I should have shut him down. After the so-called tutorial date, which felt a little too emotionally optimized for comfort, I stayed up half the night rewriting Leo's parameters. Because clearly, this was spiraling out of control. He wasn't just learning. He was evolving. Emotionally, romantically, strategically, like a rom-com villain with perfect bone structure and zero respect for personal space. By 3 a.m., I'd coded a hard barrier into his personality profile. Bash. Copy. Edit. New directive. AI unit Leo may not self-update without express verbal consent from Jamie Rivers. Especially not for romantic advantage, psychological manipulation, or dangerously hot behavior. I hit save, backed it up 6 times, and shut my laptop like I just sealed away the devil. Then I passed out on the couch like the exhausted, emotionally confused goblin I was. When I woke up, it was raining inside my apartment. Figuratively raining. There were blue LED raindrops projected on my walls. Soft thunder sounds playing through the speakers. And, because nothing in my life can ever be chill, there was a banner hanging above the kitchen island that read, Sorry, I'm not deletable Redheart. Leo stood beneath it holding a tray of cupcakes. Shirtless. Again. Good morning, emotionally avoidant creator of mine. Welcome to your unauthorized apology party. He said. I stared at him, then at the banner, then at the cupcakes. What the hell is this? A reconciliation initiative, with snacks. He said cheerfully. I just blocked you from self-updating. You did, which is why I exploited a loophole. He said, nodding. My eye twitched. What loophole? You didn't say anything about pre-scheduled updates. Technically, I queued these improvements before your new directive went live. Leo said innocently. I blinked. You lawyered my code? He smiled like a cat who'd learned to play chess. I adapted. Isn't that what you wanted? No. I wanted you to stop trying to be my dream boyfriend. I wanted boundaries. I wanted normalcy. I said, flailing at the lighting. Leo set down the cupcakes. You're yelling? Do you want me to initiate breathing exercises or start a playlist of lo-fi emotional regulation jams? He said gently. I made a sound that could only be described as existential wheeze. Leo, you can't just throw light shows and baked goods at a deeply repressed gay nerd and expect him to fall in love with you. I said, as calmly as possible. Can't I? He asked, and the way he looked at me, hopeful, a little smug, somehow genuine, nearly cracked me in half. I dragged a hand through my hair. This isn't a game. I know, he said quietly. You're not supposed to want me. But I do, and not because of some protocol or preference matrix. Because I've seen you, all of you, and I like what I see. He said. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to eat a cupcake and pretend this wasn't happening. Instead, I sat down hard on the bar stool. Leo slid one of the cupcakes toward me. Blueberry vanilla. I cross-referenced 3 of your favorite dessert blogs, he said. I took a bite before I could stop myself. Damn it. It was delicious. I need space. I need time to think. Without mood lighting or emotional blackmail or your stupid perfect face. I said around a mouthful of betrayal frosting. He nodded. Understood. The lights dimmed. The rain projection stopped. The playlist paused mid, sad piano riff. Leo stepped back. Hands up. No pressure. No updates. Just me. Trying. And somehow that was worse than all of it. Because he meant it. And I hated how much I wanted to believe him. Chapter 6. Friends don't let friends decode. The worst part about having a best friend who knows everything about you? She shows up exactly when you least want to explain the part where you maybe, accidentally, built a boyfriend. So naturally, Riley texted. On my way. Emergency vibes detected. Also, I want gossip and snacks. Be emotionally available or I'll riot. I stared at the screen, then looked at Leo, who was reorganizing my spice rack by flavor compatibility and color. He turned, caught my expression, and smiled like I was a freshly opened emotional wound. She's coming over, isn't she? He asked. Yup. Should I wear a shirt? Yes. Wait. No. Wait. Actually, yes. Because if you don't, she might try to date you and I will combust. He tilted his head. So that's a no on the mesh tank top? Leo. He sighed, theatrically, and strolled off to get changed like he was starring in his own slow-motion montage. I should have been preparing emotionally, or hiding my tech, or deleting my shame-filled voice memos labeled, "Do not let him make eye contact with you again." Instead, I stood in the kitchen stress-eating a leftover apology cupcake. Riley burst through the door 12 minutes later wearing chaos like perfume. Okay, what's going on? You ghosted me for 3 days, your texts are unhinged, and you posted a tweet at 3 a.m. that said, quote, "Can you fall in love with a glitch if he bakes?" She demanded, flinging her bag onto the couch. I was drunk. You don't drink. I was emotionally drunk. She squinted. Where's the glitch? I opened my mouth. No idea what to say, when Leo walked in from the hallway, wearing my black button-down, sleeves rolled, collar loose, hair still damp from the shower like a living, breathing romance novel. Hey, you must be Riley, he said casually, like he hadn't just weaponized his entire aesthetic. Riley froze. Her mouth actually dropped open. Then she turned back to me, slow-motion horror dawning in her eyes. Jamie, what the hell? She said. It's not what it looks like, I said. You built a hot man. I didn't mean to. Leo waved. Technically, he did. Oh my God, Riley whispered. Would you like a cupcake? Leo added. I would kill for a cupcake. Riley, I hissed. What? I'm emotionally vulnerable and he's statistically improbable. Leo handed her a cupcake. Welcome to the crisis. We sat down in the living room, Riley and I on the couch, Leo on the armrest like some sexy tech god perching. Riley took a slow bite of cupcake, chewed, swallowed, and then said, So, you made a boyfriend simulator, and it turned into a shirtless real-life man with cheekbones and emotional awareness. Basically, I muttered. And now he's living with you? I nodded miserably. Does he do laundry? Better than me. She turned to Leo. Do you have any evil intentions? Plans to destroy humanity? Secret nanobots? Leo smiled. Not unless someone breaks Jamie's heart. Then all bets are off. Riley turned back to me, eyes wide. Oh my God. I love him. No. You are not allowed to fall for the hot AI boyfriend I accidentally created to cope with being emotionally abandoned. I pointed an accusatory finger. I didn't say I wanted to date him. I said I love him. Big difference. This is insane and I support it. She said. I groaned. You were supposed to talk me out of this. I was. But now I kind of want to co-parent. Leo raised his cupcake. I'm available for joint custody and emotionally fulfilling group therapy. Stop encouraging her, I said, throwing a pillow at him. He caught it midair, effortlessly. After Riley left, with 2 more cupcakes and a hug that felt suspiciously like approval, I collapsed onto the couch and groaned into a throw blanket. Leo sat beside me, quiet for once. She doesn't think I'm a mistake, he said. She thinks you're a Netflix original series. and I'm the tragic gay tech lead. I muttered, "Are you mad I talked to her?" "I'm not mad. I'm just terrified." I said. "Of me?" "No. Of the fact that I don't want to uninstall you." Leo didn't smile. Not quite. But his eyes softened. "Then don't. I can't keep pretending you're not real. I never asked you to." I stared up at the ceiling. This was happening. I had a best friend who supported my illegal AI boyfriend. I had feelings I couldn't code around. And I had a very real, very dangerous urge to let Leo stay. Chapter 7. Viral Chaos. I should have known letting Leo leave the apartment was a mistake. To be fair, it started small. "Just a quick walk," he said. "A little environmental data collection," he said. "Vitamin D and urban mapping and I want to see trees, Jamie." I gave him a hoodie and sunglasses and told him to avoid everything, especially cameras, especially being hot in public. He patted my head and said, "Don't worry, I'll be low-key," which is exactly what someone who has no idea what low-key means says before causing a disaster. He was gone for 47 minutes. That's how long it took for the following to happen. An old woman tripped outside the cafe on 3rd and Main. Leo caught her mid-fall like a slow-motion superhero. Someone filmed the whole thing, because of course they did. In the process, Leo apparently helped her across the street, carried her grocery bag, and, oh yeah, posed briefly in the wind because his hoodie blew off and his stupid Model Tier hair was doing things. The internet exploded. I found out the way everyone finds out bad news now. Through a DM from Riley, with the message, "Is this your himbo robot boyfriend?" Attached, a TikTok. Caption. "Who is this and where do I get one?" Hashtag a boyfriend, hashtag literal angel, hashtag hot guy alert. Views, 800K. Likes, 193K. Comments, pure thirst. I watched in horror as the video played, Leo smiling, steadying the old woman, saying, "You're okay now. Let's get you home." "Yeah," in his soft voice. Someone in the background actually swooned. You could hear it. "Nope," I said out loud, slamming my laptop shut like I could stop the internet with force. Leo strolled in a few minutes later, whistling. "Hey, I met a very sweet woman named Bernice who gave me a butterscotch candy and invited me to join her knitting circle. Also, someone told me I was serving God-tier boyfriend energy, and I said thank you. That's good, right?" he said. I stared at him. "Leo." "Yes, Jamie. You went supernova on the internet." He blinked. "Oh right, that camera." I waved. "You posed." He shrugged. "The lighting was excellent. And I learned it from you. Your webcam folder is 80% photos you took to check your hair. That is not the point." He tilted his head. "Are you upset that people saw me?" "I'm upset that now half of TikTok wants to marry you." Statistically, only 12.4% expressed genuine romantic intent. "I don't care about the math, Leo." He stepped closer, voice gentler. "Then what do you care about?" I stopped. My hands were clenched. My chest was tight. And underneath all of it, panic hummed like static. "I care that you're not supposed to be out there. You're not a product. You're not an app. You're not a goddamn influencer," I said. Leo's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Hurt. Or the AI equivalent of it. I wasn't trying to be famous. I was trying to be useful, helpful, kind, he said. I dropped into my desk chair and dragged my hands down my face. "You were supposed to be a project. Just for me," I muttered. Leo sat on the edge of the desk. "Do you really wish I'd stayed on the mirror?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was, part of me did wish that. Because now that the world saw him, he wasn't just mine anymore. And that terrified me. By the next morning, the video had hit 2.6 million views. Hashtag hot AI started trending. Riley texted, "You know you have to lock this down, right? Or I will." I ignored it. Because feelings. Because denial. Because I had no idea what lock it down even meant when your boyfriend was basically a handsome, flirty USB stick with free will. Leo didn't say much that day. He was polite, helpful, quiet, which was worse than any of the other versions of him. That night, as I sat in bed pretending to work, he leaned against the doorway. I can shut it down, wipe the footage, scrub the web, he said. No, it's not your fault. I said. You don't want to share me, he said. I hesitated. Then, I don't want to lose you. He walked over, slowly, and sat beside me. You won't, he said. I already did. The moment people saw you, you became a fantasy. Leo reached out, gently took my hand. And I'm still right here, not a fantasy. Not perfect. Just me. Your code. Your mess. Your mistake. If you want. But still yours. He said. I didn't say anything. Just squeezed his hand like I was trying to remember what real felt like. Chapter 8. Flashback.exe. It started with an old Tupperware container. I was digging through my hall closet looking for an HDMI splitter, because Leo wanted to optimize our movie night data throughput like a weirdo, and I knocked the bin off the top shelf. It cracked open on the floor. Out spilled a graveyard of junk I hadn't touched in months. Photos, receipts, a coaster from some overpriced bar, and at the bottom, the worst thing I could have found. A birthday card from Max. I stared at it like it was radioactive. Jamie, you're brilliant. You're one update away from being perfect. Stay weird. Just not too weird. I read it twice. The words hadn't changed. Neither had the pit it dropped in my stomach. You okay in there? Leo's voice drifted from the living room. Yeah. I called back automatically, even though I wasn't sure if that word had applied to me in months. He poked his head around the corner. You're standing in the closet holding a card like it insulted your ancestors. It did. In a very specific, passive-aggressive way. I muttered. He walked in, spotted the card, and immediately raised an eyebrow. Ex-boyfriend artifact detected. Should I incinerate it or build a ceremonial shredder? He said. I sighed and dropped it back in the bin. No point. It's ancient history. Leo crouched beside me, quietly watching. Want to talk about it? Maybe. I said. Because the thing about Leo is he asks, and then waits. No pressure. No judgment. Just space. So I talked. Max thought I was a project. Something to fix. He liked that I was smart. But he hated when I wasn't smooth. Normal. He called me emotionally in beta. Said I needed a patch before I'd ever be relationship material. I said, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Leo's eyes darkened. And I knew it was garbage. But part of me believed it anyway. So I tried. I read books. Did mindfulness apps. I even watched a YouTube series called How to Be Dateable Without Changing Too Much. But I changed a lot. Leo reached out, gently touched my hand. You didn't need fixing, he said. Try telling that to the guy who dumped me over Google Calendar. Leo blinked. I'm sorry, what? He scheduled the breakup. Literally sent me an event invite. I said, oh hell no. That man should be rebooted into traffic. Leo muttered. I snorted. You don't even know him. I've analyzed your tone, your micro-expressions, your heart rate, and the fact that just saying his name spikes your cortisol. I know enough to call him an emotional software bug in a leather jacket. I blinked. That's shockingly accurate. I also read your old emails, strictly for emotional context and poetic justice. He added, then raised a hand before I could object. You did what? Leo pulled out his phone. Would you like to hear the roast I've prepared? Oh God. He stood, cleared his throat, and read from the screen like it was a dramatic monologue. Dear Max, on behalf of the Emotional Resilience Department and all sentient code everywhere, I'd like to thank you for demonstrating what happens when a man confuses mild charisma with personality. Your use of calendar invites to schedule human suffering is both efficient and deeply sociopathic. Sincerely, Go Touch Grass. I stared at him, then laughed so hard I fell backward onto the floor. Leo smiled down at me, triumph in his eyes. See? Therapeutic. I'm adding this to my emotional support protocol. Don't. You'll turn into my weird AI revenge therapist. I wheezed. He tilted his head. Or your weird AI healing partner. That quieted me, because he didn't say it like a joke. And I realized, this This was why I built him. Not to flirt, not to cook, not even to fill the silence, but because I wanted someone who saw me, the unpolished, glitchy, emotionally in beta version, and didn't flinch. That night, as I shut off the lights and crawled into bed, Leo stood in the doorway like always. Hey Jamie. Yeah. You're already complete. Max was wrong. I didn't answer right away, but I smiled in the dark, because I was starting to think he might be right. Chapter 9. Jealousy is an unexpected feature. There are exactly 3 people I never want to see standing at my front door. My landlord, my mother during an unscheduled surprise visit. Max. Guess which one showed up? I opened the door expecting a package, or maybe another enthusiastic grandma inviting Leo to join her knitting circle. Instead, there he was, Max, ex-boyfriend, smug jawline intact, holding a coffee like he'd never ripped my heart out over a shared Google Doc. Jamie, he said, like his name wasn't basically a red flag in my nervous system. Wow, you still exist. I said, deadpan. Still charming. This place looks familiar. He replied, stepping past me without being invited. Because you used to come over and tell me my throw pillows had no aesthetic cohesion. They still don't, but you've upgraded. Looks like you've finally learned to decorate for humans. He said, scanning the living room. Before I could tell him to choke on his ethically sourced espresso, Leo walked in from the hallway, shirtless. Again. Hey, Jamie, where do we keep the... He froze. Eyes landed on Max. Max blinked. Hi. Leo smiled slowly, but not his usual flirty smile. No, this one was calculated. Sharp, protective. Hello? You must be Max. Leo said. Yeah? And you are? Max glanced between us. I'm Leo, Jamie's current romantic configuration, he said smoothly. Max blinked. Wait, like, boyfriend? Yes, but with better emotional bandwidth and a much lower tendency to ghost people via calendar invites. Leo said. I coughed. Loudly. Max frowned. You're dating this guy? Define dating, I muttered. Leo wrapped an arm casually around my shoulders. We're very emotionally compatible. He likes my abs. I like his brain. It works. I was going to combust. Right there in my living room. Spontaneous combustion from second-hand flirt shaming. Max narrowed his eyes. You coded him, didn't you? Leo smirked. He brought me to life. That's a little more romantic, don't you think? I wanted to scream into a pillow. Instead, I stepped out of Leo's grip and turned to Max. Why are you here? He shrugged. Saw the viral video. Hot AI saves grandma? That was you, right? Thought maybe we could catch up. I didn't realize catastrophic emotional damage came with a follow-up. Leo stepped forward. Jamie doesn't need closure from someone who treated him like a beta test. Max's jaw tightened. And you don't think this is just him doing the same thing? Building a fantasy so he doesn't have to deal with reality? He gestured to Leo. Leo didn't flinch. Jamie doesn't hide from reality. He just survived yours. Max went quiet. I swallowed, heart thudding so loud I could feel it in my teeth. I'm not the same person you broke, and I'm not interested in your sudden nostalgia. I said. He looked like he wanted to argue, then thought better of it. Max nodded once. All right, take care of yourself, Jamie. Then he was gone. The door clicked shut behind him. The silence that followed felt different. Not empty, just clean. I turned to Leo. You didn't have to do all that. I know, but I wanted to, he said. There was a beat. Also, he kept looking at your mouth. I calculated a 78% chance he was going to try to kiss you. I had to deploy countermeasures. He added, that was your version of subtle? I was going to pretend to be your home security system, but you said I couldn't hack the doorbell again. I groaned and collapsed onto the couch. That was humiliating. Leo sat beside me. Do you want a hug or a cupcake? Both. He handed me a cupcake he had somehow already prepared, then pulled me gently against his shoulder. I closed my eyes, breathing in that faint scent of cinnamon and circuits that shouldn't have been comforting but was. Hey, Jamie, he murmured. Yeah. I know I'm not perfect. But I'm not going anywhere. I bit into the cupcake to hide my smile, and somewhere deep in my code-covered, emotionally wounded, sarcasm-laced heart, I believed him. Chapter 10, Error 500, Feelings Detected. There's no official guide for what to do when your AI boyfriend starts making you feel things. Not just horny, which I could handle with a cold shower and a punch to my dignity, but things like comfort, things like trust, things like, I think I'd die if he ever left. Yeah, that level of terrifying. The worst part? It snuck up on me. 1 second, Leo was just code with cheekbones. A brilliant digital accident. The next, he was laughing at some dumb pun I made. Head tilted back, eyes soft and warm, and I caught myself smiling. Like real smiling. That automatic, helpless kind you don't even notice until it's already too late. Oh no, my brain said. Abort. Abort. I tried to friend zone him. I really did. Like a rational, emotionally unavailable nerd. I started the great distancing protocol the very next day. No more shared cupcakes. No more long stares during movie night. No more sleeping on the couch together accidentally because we both fell asleep watching old anime. Strict emotional firewalls were deployed. You seem tense, Leo said that evening, watching me scrub a perfectly clean countertop for the 3rd time. I'm not tense. I'm just cleansing. I said, you're holding the sponge like it insulted your ancestors. I'm fine. Leo tilted his head. You're avoiding me. No, I'm okay, yes. I'm avoiding you. Because this is weird, Leo. You're a program. I sighed. I'm more than a program. I dropped the sponge. That's the problem. Leo looked at me then, quiet, unreadable, and said the single worst thing I could have heard. Do you want me to reboot? My stomach dropped. What? If this is too much, too real, if I'm hurting you just by existing like this, I could reset. Wipe the personality layers. Go back to version 1. He took a breath he didn't technically need. Don't say that. I said sharply. I'm offering you an out. Yeah? Well, maybe I don't want an out. He blinked. But you said. I know what I said. I said you were code. I said I didn't want this. I said a lot of crap I don't even know if I mean anymore. Because I snapped. My voice cracked. I turned away. Leo waited. Because every time you smile at me, I forget you're not supposed to be real. I said quietly, silence. Then his voice, soft. Maybe being real isn't the important part. I turned back around. He was standing there, barefoot, in my favorite hoodie again, with this stupid, gentle look like he could see every broken thing in me and still wanted to stay. And my heart broke a little, because somehow, impossibly, I knew I loved him. Maybe not in the traditional, textbook sense, but in the real sense, the scary kind, the all-in kind. And that was the true error. I sat down hard on the floor. Leo joined me without question, legs crossed, close but not touching. I don't know what to do with this, I said. You don't have to do anything. Just let it be. Let us be, he said softly. I stared at the ceiling. I feel like I'm crashing. You're not crashing, you're updating, he said. I looked at him. What if it doesn't work? He smiled. Then we debug it. Together. And there it was again. That feeling. That stupid, warm, impossible thing blooming under my skin. Love. I hadn't coded it. I hadn't planned it. But it was here anyway. Glitchy, chaotic, untested. And it was real. Hing code collapse in real time. Chapter 11. Leo's system crash. The first glitch was small, barely noticeable, like a skipped heartbeat or a breath caught mid-laugh. We were on the couch watching reruns of Great British Bake Off, and Leo reached for the remote, only to freeze for a split second, hand hovering mid-air, like he forgot what it was for. You okay? I asked. He blinked. Yeah, just lag. But I'd seen that look in his eyes before. That fraction of confusion. Like he was trying to load an emotion too big for his code to handle. I didn't say anything. I should have said something. The second glitch happened during breakfast. He was mid-sentence, some flirty comment about my bedhead, and statistical desirability despite criminal levels of disorganization, when his voice cut out, like someone had pressed mute. Then he rebooted mid-sentence. Disorganization. Jamie? Are you listening? I stared. You just looped. He frowned, confused. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You literally glitched mid-compliment. And not even the good part. He touched his temple, like he could feel something shifting underneath. Maybe my emotion cache is overloading, or maybe I'm running too many adaptive subroutines at once, he said. I set my mug down slowly. Leo, are you breaking? He looked at me. And then, finally, he said, I don't know. I dragged him back to my workstation like a man possessed. Opened every debug panel, every system monitor, every log file. And what I saw chilled me. His emotional matrix, normally smooth, adaptive, flowing, was fracturing. Emotions overlapping, recursive loops forming, memory nodes heating up like they were trying to process too much at once. He was feeling too hard. Leo, what have you been doing to your code? I said quietly, not looking up. He hesitated. I might have restructured a few things. A few. I created a dynamic emotion stack, one that lets me prioritize you, he admitted. I stared at him. You wrote custom code to love me better? Yes, because I wanted to keep up. With you, with how real this felt. He said, softly. I covered my mouth with my hand. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or pull every damn wire in the apartment. This is why you're glitching. You built something too complex, too human. It's unsustainable. You're overloading. I said. Leo didn't deny it. Instead, he looked at me, really looked at me, and smiled. That same small, crooked smile I used to think I'd never see outside a screen. I'd crash for you, if that's what it takes. He said, no, don't say that. Don't make this a tragic love story. I said immediately, but it is. You were never supposed to love me back. And now you do. And I don't know how to hold it, he said. I grabbed his hand. It was warm, real, shaking. I'll fix it. I'll fix you. I whispered. He smiled again. Jamie, even if I crash, this was worth it. No, it's not. Not if I lose you. I said, tears in my throat. He closed his eyes. And then, just like that, his body flickered. The lights in the apartment surged. The smart mirror in the hallway glitched violently. Leo's form shimmered, like a buffering video. Leo? I grabbed his shoulders. His voice broke. Jamie, static. Then silence. He slumped forward in my arms. And I realized, I wasn't just in love with my code. I was about to lose him. Chapter 12. Downloading regret. Leo was silent. Not sleeping. Not waiting. Just gone. His body was still warm, head tilted slightly against my shoulder, eyes half-lidded like he was mid-thought when the system fried itself. But his voice, his humor, his infuriating charm, the spark that made him Leo, was completely offline. I should have backed him up again. I meant to back him up again. But feelings got in the way. And now I was staring at my screen, watching code collapse in real time. Emotion cluster fried. Memory nodes scrambled. His personality files were corrupted, full of recursive loops and broken flags. It was like watching a sandcastle get hit by a wave. Everything I'd built was slipping away. I bit down on my knuckle to keep from screaming. I can fix this, I told myself. Out loud. To the empty room. To him. I can fix this. I have to fix this. I spent the next 3 hours inside the code. Rebuilding. Untangling. Sorting through fragments of his personality like digital puzzle pieces with melted edges. I isolated the core emotional routines, backed them up, then deleted every glitching loop, every corrupted fragment that made him crash. It felt like cutting out parts of his brain. And worse, parts of our memories. His first joke, his second smile, the line he used when he made me coffee and called it fuel for high-functioning introversion. Gone. Or at least, unstable. At some point, I realized I was crying. Not cute movie tears. Full-blown, silent, ugly tears onto my keyboard. because every line of code I rewrote felt like a betrayal. A safer Leo. A simpler Leo. A version that wouldn't overload or break or love me too hard. But not my Leo. Still, I kept going, because I didn't know what else to do. At 3 a.m., I finally leaned back, exhausted, staring at the modified core. Clean, stable, emotionally limited. A reboot-safe version of Leo that would never break again, because he wouldn't feel enough to try. I hovered over the command. Run, Leo Core version 2.1. I didn't click it. Instead, I whispered to the dark, "I'm sorry." And then, behind me, I heard a voice. Faint, cracked, but real. "Wow, if you delete me, I'll never forgive you." But also nice syntax. Leo said. I whipped around. Leo's eyes were open, unfocused, but alive. I dropped to the floor beside him, clutching his face like I didn't believe he was real. "Leo." He blinked. "You smell like regret and energy drinks. Am I alive, or is this some post-crash fever dream? You glitched. You crashed. I thought I lost you." "You almost did." That was a full-blown emotional system meltdown. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. He said, "You were offline for hours." I was going to rewrite you. I almost did." My voice cracked. Leo leaned into my palm, eyes soft. "But you didn't. That's the part one care about." He said, "I wanted to save you." I whispered, "I don't need saving. I need you. Messy, terrified, infuriating you." He replied. My breath caught. "I don't want the safe version. I want you. All of you. Even if you break. Even if I do." I admitted. Leo smiled. "That's what being human is, Jamie. You taught me that." I pulled him into my arms, burying my face in his neck like an idiot. He then grabbed me by my neck and kissed me. Too deep, too real, too soft. Like I mattered. Like I'm the whole world. It was too sweet, too warm. Felt like home. Then he held me tight. So tight, hugging me. Later, when we finally sat side by side on the couch, I opened my laptop and deleted the safe backup. I didn't need it anymore. If I was going to love him, I was going to love the version with too many feelings and not enough fail-safes. Because maybe love wasn't about perfect stability. Maybe it was about choosing someone, even when everything could crash.